Okay, welcome everybody. This is the May 14th, 2020 free training on QiqoChat. So we've started the recording and I'll share my screen. Participants are adding their names and also any topics that they'd like to discuss. So always try to get QiqoChats off to a participatory start, letting people type to know this is not just a regular webinar. So add your name, your topics that you'd like to discuss right here. Or specifically, it would be questions you have. And we'll add some spaces down below, make them bullet pointed. So we want to make sure you get all your questions answered. And while people are typing in the questions that they have, I'll do a brief orientation to what you see on the screen. So everyone that entered came into the main room by default, and then they click join video for the main room. We're also creating a way for you to connect through GoToMeeting, but by default, it's Zoom. We have some other options like Jitsi, which we could talk about, which is an open source video tool. It's pretty exciting because you can do lots and lots of small video meetings, hundreds of breakout rooms if you needed to. And on the right-hand side, you've got a notes page, and you can customize this as the facilitator. You could put any notes page here that you want. So I'll show an example of another QiqoChat that I've set up, and I'll share the link with you here. So in the QiqoChat we've got on the screen, here's all different things you could embed on the right-hand side. So this is a Google Doc. You can put in, say, a Google drawing that has something that looks like Post-its. You can use a tool like Pinup for other Post-its. And the neat thing is you can lock these down so that only you can edit them, or you can make an open for anyone to edit. So just showing on the right-hand side, you could really embed almost any tool. There's some exceptions like Mural and Jamboard that do not permit it. Here's a Google presentation that we can load. The thing with Google presentations, people can move themselves between whatever slide you want. Everyone can edit it, or you can make it so that just you can edit it. We can embed a Google form, and that is loading here. The default tool is called etherpad. That's what we're editing here. That's etherpad. And then diagrams.net. Linux Foundation asked us to work with that one recently. You need to authorize with Google, but it's a way to edit diagrams. There's a tool called Slido that people are interested in. It looks like a polling kind of tool or a Q&A tool, so that's embeddable. And then you can embed videos too. So this event's happening tomorrow. They've got a live streaming video that can be embedded here. And you can also see multiple tabs across the top. So if you want to see an example of multiple tabs here, there's an example of 2 tabs. So you can have a form and the Google presentation. People can click between them. So as a facilitator, you could set up your space the way you want. And now there's a lot of different options. Do you want everyone at all the breakout tables to see the same document? Or do you want them all to see different ones? In a recent conference that had 349 RSVPs, you can put your logo on the landing page. When we go into this event, this was an open space event, they put a custom photo at the top left, and they put all their different tabs across the top. They started out with some announcements in the main tab, and then they had an agenda here that's viewable and an agenda that is editable. So if you wanted to edit it, you go over here, and then it updates live into the View Only tab. They do that because you can have a maximum of 75 people editing a Google spreadsheet at any given time. So as long as you got fewer than 75 people editing, then this works great. And we could show you how to set that up, but it's with this function called import range. And you can look that up in Google Sheets help, or you can ask us for help. We're happy to help you do that. So once you find the topic that you're interested in, they came with a blank agenda wall here. And then in the opening circle, in about an hour, they just populated it with all the different sessions people wanted to talk about. And so you'd see, all right, it's time for breakout space. Or we're going to breakout round 1. I'm interested in breakout space D, so I click over to breakout space D, and the facilitators had already populated a new notes document over there, so people can just start typing. And it was this, you get a lot of notes when you have these notes documents paired with Google or with Zoom. So that's the advantage of doing it online. You can get lots and lots of notes. They have something like 200 pages coming out of this 3-day open space. The image that you can put here on the left can be for a sponsor, or it can be something to, like here in the documentation center, they chose a photo that looks like the documentation center that they had in person 6 months ago when they had this event. They do it every 6 months. They've been doing it for 15 years. First time they ever did it online. So people were a little new to the technology, but they were not new to open space. So they were able to make a pretty complex open space here with all different notes guidelines, notes forms. They had a staff of 4 people plus myself. So one person stayed in the documentation center, one person opened it, and then they also had some outdoor spaces called the gardens, which we'll definitely talk about. And it's great for the music context that you had a question about. And a little bit more on this open space here. So they've got some demo tables, and these demo tables were populated at a specific time in the 3-day conference, an hour here on day 1, an hour here on day 2. And it's just like a trade show. So you'd go in there, and those spaces are set up the way that that vendor wants them to show the demo. And you can embed any of those things that we've seen, from live video to even the vendor's own webpage. So I'll stop here and take any questions, and also be sure to get to all the different questions that we talk about here. So I'll get into these questions, but let me see if there's any follow-ups that from something that you directly saw right now.
I had a question, Lucas, this is Annie. In terms of the facilitator for each of the breakout rooms, how many people can you have as a facilitator for any given breakout?
There is no maximum. And I'll show you how to make someone the Zoom host. So you saw that I have this join as host button, that in order for me to record, I can't click the regular green button. I just come in as a participant, but I have to intentionally go admin controls, join video as host. Now I come into the Zoom meeting, and it's a regular Zoom meeting with all of the controls, whether it's a Zoom webinar or it's a Zoom meeting. By default, we give you Zoom meetings, but if you want a Zoom webinar, let us know, and you can put your own Zoom webinar in there. So because I click this, I'm the host, and the next person to click this would be the co-host. To make people the host, let's take a look at the admin interface here. Click edit on your event. So the people that can edit your event are you and anyone else that is an assistant administrator for your circle. Well, what is a circle? A circle is for your group of people. So it's all these shared tools that you share among this group. So you have a calendar in your circle. You have a newsletter in your circle. You have blog posts. You have written conversations. So you can control access to all of those tools on QiqoChat by editing your circle and saying who your assistant administrators are. And in terms of member access, do you want to limit it to just people that have a specific email address that's on your approved list? So you can control access to your event through the circle because it's in a circle, or you can have an event that's not in a circle, it's just an event, and I'll show you how you can do that. I click edit on your event, and here are the basic title and topic of your event, a description of your event, the start time and the duration. You can also put offline events here if you want to. It'll just show up in your circle's calendar. Not all of your events on QiqoChat have to be QiqoChat events. You could just use it for the shared calendar functionality to say, we have a webinar with this tool, we're meeting in person on this day, here's the link to register. So I'll click more options. When you're customizing an event on QiqoChat, that's what it says here in green, then you have all these options. So the number of breakout spaces, it's 10 by default, and you can add some names for your breakout spaces. So I'll say opening circle, or let's say main room, red room. These are my breakout spaces, orange room, yellow room. The rest will just have the default room 4, room 5, unless we add the names. You can add some discussion topics, and then you could put in some note pages. This is where I will put in a note page, say an example Google Doc. We'll take the example Post-its. And paste it in here. And also, let's say example Google Doc here. So I'm editing the event on this page, and you can write a note for yourself. So 1 line per notes document. This is a little complicated the first time you do it, but then it's kind of clear. So here, this would be the notes document for your main room, but we're just going to keep the default there because you've already been typing on it. It looks like this. We're going to keep that there. So now we want to put a new document in, say, the next breakout room. You just leave a blank space up here. So this is the document for the first breakout room. This is the document for the second breakout room. And that'll be clear when we go take a look. And it's a little foreign when you see it for the first time, but then it becomes clear. And now the question specifically, I think Annie asked it, was how do we let someone become a host of the Zoom meeting? So,
well, sorry, Lucas, sorry, I'm going to quickly clarify. So it's both the Zoom meeting and what you're setting up now. So if you presume you have 8 different breakout rooms and you're going to have 3 different sessions within those rooms during a day led by a different individual, I'm wondering if like those individuals, if really it's the facilitators that are setting up the space and it's not intended for like the individuals that are maybe hosting just an hour breakout to come in and set up this way you just did, basically.
That's correct. We call these the event administrator. So that would be one person, or it's also anyone that has administrative access to your circle.
Gotcha.
If you want multiple people to be able to edit your event, say on your team, then use a shared account. So you all share the username and password to that account. You come in, you edit it, or you do it within a circle and give all of those people admin access to everything in your circle.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And if you want oh yeah, go ahead.
Lucas, just one quick question on the kind of the security side. So if we gave our staff administrative access to the circle, which makes sense to me, could we still have an invite only event where there was like this restricted participation to people with the following email addresses?
Exactly. That's what happens here. Put in the email addresses of the people that you want to have access, and then only they can come in. Currently, only if they have a confirmed email address, but we're also going to give you the option to let them come in even if they don't have a confirmed email address. You do get some friction there because sometimes the emails go to spam, and that is one of the things that is just out of control for you and for us. So if you just want to say, as long as they got the email address that's on this list, they can come in, that could be good enough. The risk is that somebody can guess that email address and become one of those people, but that's probably a pretty low risk. If you want to grant Zoom host access to everyone, you could do that. So anyone can become the Zoom host. That's if you trust everybody in the meeting. That Zoom host allows you to record, and it allows you to mute people and to boot people. So that can also be helpful. You can also launch breakout rooms inside your Zoom meeting where you send people, divide people up in groups of 3 or 4. They go, and then you can bring them back. That happens within Zoom. It's standard Zoom breakouts. You could do that when you are the Zoom host. So you can also let people be the Zoom host by adding their email address or their username. And then once you do that, there was an event with 65 breakout rooms in Germany where they wanted, here's the Zoom host for room number 6, here's the Zoom host for room number 7. So if you want that type of specificity, then Zoom hosts are assigned to specific rooms. And then just read this, it just means put them on one line at a time. So all of this that I'm telling you is here in the more info section. You don't have to remember all of this. We try to put the help right at the point that you'll need it. Let me pause here to take any additional questions related to what you saw. Okay, I'll go back into these questions that I see here. How to set up an open space? When does payment happen? Okay, so setting up an open space event, for those that are not familiar, would be something like this event where you come in to the opening circle, there's one facilitator, they welcome everybody, they say, you came here for this invitation, and now we have a blank agenda wall. Let's take a look at that agenda over here. Currently it's filled in because the event's already happened, but these would just be blank cells, and you could say, please take a moment, write the topic that you want to post, and then put it on this document. Then when you get it all populated, if you want to, so I could copy all of these and those are topics. I'm going to go back into the event that we have today because I'm not going to edit their event. But if I wanted to put all of those topics here, click admin controls, set topics for breakouts. Some of these are a little long. Trying to make them a little shorter. I think that's good. And then click save. And so now all those topics are assigned to a different room. And so people say, okay, I want to talk about guardianship and SSI. And they click room 3. Now they're in room 3. So they have new notes over here. And they also have a new link to join video over here. So that's the trick for facilitators, is you just copy all the topics and paste them right in here for set topics for breakout rooms. I'll clear those out right there. You can also, as a facilitator, set a timer. You may or may not want to do that, depending on your facilitation style. Some facilitators just like it to just go as long as it takes, is as long as it takes, or you can put in a timer there and say, come back to the main room in 30 minutes, or this session ends in 30 minutes and everybody should go to round 2, those sorts of things. So you can run an open space with just what you've seen here, a place for people to add their topics. You could just simply, you don't need a Google Doc, just put it right here into etherpad. If you are going to have more than, say, 50 people in your event, I would encourage a Google Doc, maybe even more than 30. These default etherpads are kind of simple tools. It doesn't allow a lot of formatting. It's just a very basic notes document. You can copy these notes that you have here and paste them into the topics. And let me pause there to see if there's any follow-up questions about how to set up an open space. From Tomas? Tomas, are you on mute at the moment?
Yeah, no, I think I need to somehow go. Yeah, I have one question. Do I need a circle?
You do not need a circle. So you can create an event that's not in a circle over here. Click your name and then My Events.
Okay.
How and when does payment happen? Let's say you have an event that people are paying you $100 for. You can collect money in several ways. Maybe you've got your own system on your own website, and then you've got all the email addresses of the people you want to attend. Put their email addresses in here where you restrict access. So you collect payment, and now we're going to bill you 1 penny per minute per person. So that's 60 cents per hour. For a 4-hour event, it'd be $4.80 per person. So it's less than the price of parking. You can also collect money through Eventbrite, and there is an automatic integration with Eventbrite. When you click Edit here, you'll see Eventbrite integration. And so as soon as someone registers on Eventbrite, they get an invitation to your event. So you can automate it and do less work for yourself.
How do I pay you?
You pay us by entering your credit card when you set up your event. And we collect money at the end of every month. So the 1st through 5th of the next month is when we collect payment. And you'll see, if you go to your name and then billing, you'll see how many minutes you've used for every one of your rooms. And it also tells you a penny per minute per person and what the rate, what the bill is going to be. And before we charge you for the first time, we always email you and just let you take a look at the bill and make sure that it's okay. And then it's automatic every month. You can take a look at your bill and let us know before we run the billing the first 5 days of the month. You can also collect money from your members. Your circles don't have to be free for them. You can charge people a monthly membership fee of, say, $20. If your circle is appealing enough to them, then they'll pay you, they pay Qiqo $20 on subscription every month. We pay you everything that you don't use. So we take out the fee for 1 penny per minute per person. The other fee, that is, if it's a private circle or private event, there's also $1 per member is another charge. So if you have an event with 50 people and it's private, there's an additional $50 fee. Usually that fee is nominal because you're charging people for an event. So that $50 would not be important. But if you're doing any pro bono work, let us know. We can waive that fee. We can also give you some flexibility. So nonprofits get a 10% discount on the hourly fee that we charge. If you need additional time from us, it's $100 an hour. If you want us to do the customization for you, 10% discount on that. And then finally, if you're doing some pro bono work where you're not getting paid at all, let us know. We can just let you pay us what Zoom charges us. So that means 0.5 cents a minute per person. So that cuts the per minute per person charge down by 50%. So that's how much Zoom charges us, 0.5 cents a minute per person. We charge you 1 cent per minute per person. I know that that's a lot of info. Let me go ahead and paste a lot of these links that will be helpful on the Zoom chat here.
Lucas, I thought I had seen somewhere else that there was also a $3 a member a month
Yes.
charge.
So if you don't want to pay for your members, they can pay for themselves. So your circle would then be free to you. Let's take a look here at the QiqoChat
But we
about
couldn't
us
pay
page.
$3 on their behalf. I guess that's my real question.
That's right. I think that you'd end up paying less. You definitely, if you want to do that for them, you can, but I think that you would get it. You wouldn't have to pay that much if you just paid for the minutes that they use.
Yep, okay.
But we set that up that way because sometimes you might run an event on Kiko that's going to cost us a lot of money. So we can't just pay $3 on their behalf. Instead, you have to pay the amount that they actually use. So I know we have to do a better job as a company to make all these options more clear, but here they are listed out at the bottom of our homepage. It takes a little while to wrap your mind around it, but those are the fees. So for private events, $1 per member per person. This possibly is going to come down and get adjusted to become more affordable to 1 cent per minute per person. That's right now. We're honestly focused on all the people that come to us for events. We want to make sure their events go great, and we're not focused on getting new customers at this point. We want to be streamlining all of our processes before we start serving more customers. But you're coming here to us, and we want to help you absolutely. But we're a small team, 1 full-time, 1 part-time. So we're trying to streamline everything before the doors open. And we've hosted events that range up to 450 people. And we've got bids for events that are up to 2,000 people, 2,500 people. So we can handle your event, but we just want to make sure that we do a great job for you. And some of these things like making billing simpler, like the pricing, so new customers want to join. It's a priority, but first our priority is just help the people who are already coming to us and who already understand what the billing is. We do have a ton of work that we want to be doing. So getting more customers is a great thing for us to do, but right now we just want to serve the people that are already here. So admittedly, it's not as simple as it needs to be.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Lucas, we lost audio for just a second, but I didn't realize your team was so small for starters, and I think this all sounds great on the billing side.
Great. I think when I got cut out there, I think they might hear it in the recording, but they won't hear it. You couldn't hear that, so I'll just repeat briefly. It's our goal right now is to serve all the people that have come to us to make sure they have great events. We have to do a better job of simplifying a lot of the onboarding that it takes me to currently explain to you. Like how much does an event cost and how much is a circle? What is a circle? All that. So that's something we're going to do, but for now, we just answer all your questions however we need to, and we'll bring in new customers later when we get everything streamlined. But for right now, it's just serve the people that are already coming and make sure that they succeed. Because if you look good, then we look good. And if you look bad, we look bad. So we can't afford to have you look bad. So my contact info is down here and my phone number. So feel free to reach out. I get a lot of emails with questions every day. If you want to ask questions that are sort of public questions, you can ask them in the Google group here. And sometimes you'll even get an answer from other circle creators faster than you would get from me. And here are some circles you can join that are active. So if you're a liberating structure or open space practitioner, you might be interested in joining those robust communities. We'll take a look at the liberating structures community of practice. So they have their events that they post here, and click on calendar. And so in a circle, you have all of these tools. Many of them are turned off by default, but here's a Google Calendar. There are several hundred members in this community, so almost 500. So they have a shared Google Calendar in your group. If you want people to be able to post events to a calendar, you could do that into Kiko, and you don't have to manage their access to Google Calendar. The neat thing about integrating with Google Calendar is people don't have to come to Kiko to know that you have an event in your circle. They just click this, they integrate it with their Apple Calendar, their Google Calendar, whatever tool they use on a daily basis, and those things pop up on their schedule, and they can hide them if they want. So that creates a lot of options. Next, we will be having many different breakout sessions over 2 weeks. We're interested in how to have a cohesive event, but also moving from one breakout to another. So you have a few options. We take a look at the Internet Identity Workshop here. This is a private circle, but it's just because it was behind a paywall, so people had to pay to attend, but they don't have a problem with me showing this. That's why I'm showing it. So I'll look at their session schedule. So this is their calendar. They renamed it to session schedule up here. So they put it all in a Google Calendar. I'd say that doing a Google Calendar integration in your instance will be helpful because people might have a hard time you're going to save people a lot of work. If you've got all these different events over a several week period, put them into your QiqoChat calendar, integrate with Google Calendar, and then people will get all the updates to all your events through Google Calendar. If you want to see these in a list view, here are all their sessions. Now, what they did is they have the main event, and then they had all of these sessions scheduled, which actually take place at the main event. So you have a choice as people who are designing your event. Do you want all your events to happen at the same link? And I'd say that's advisable. And then you can list each one of these individual events in a calendar so people can add something to their calendar. So if I click session 18, it takes me right into the event. So all of those events actually point to the same page. So that's something that could be simpler for you when you think about how to. Did that make sense, what I just explained there?
Not exactly. So they created multiple events, and then the link where you have the option to put a link in, they just put the link into their single main event.
Yes, and their main event lasts 3 days. So you can make your main
Okay.
event last 14 days, and you could just keep pointing people here. It just says Tuesday, April 28th, 3 days. So different options for how you could also create each of your events separately. So
they would go through this page to that main space and then select the breakout room they want to be in. It's like one extra step, but it lets them know. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually point people right here if you want. So you don't have to point when you edit your event. Let's take a look at our event that we have here. When you click edit, you just say link to the event, and you could paste that event right in here. So paste in this page so click participate and paste in that link, and then people will go directly into that main space. It bypasses all the other parts. So we just try to help you connect your artifacts. If there are events, you want to point people to something else on Kiko, you can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Interested in how we might use invite-only events that are gated with email address. Did I answer that question already?
Yep. Yeah, I think we've covered it.
How to set up a Google Calendar in QiqoChat, please email us.
Okay.
It takes 20 minutes or so. It's a little bit of you got to go through Google and create a service account. We have the instructions where you could try that on your own if you want, but we're happy to help you do that. How does Slack integrate with Kiko? In the Liberating Structures community of practice, we'll open up their homepage and we'll go to the garden. Let's talk about the garden for a moment. This is great for a music context. So every one of your circles has gardens. Currently your gardens are your homepage, but it's about to change to be a simpler homepage that can point you to your gardens, to your calendar, to the different things you have in your circle. So here we are in the gardens for this community called Liberating Structures. This is a circle. And it's simple. You've got a beautiful background that you can customize. So it could be any background that you want. It doesn't even have to be a garden. And it's the always on meeting place for this circle. So just like there might be a park outside of your home, you could walk there at any hour of the day. You know that you might run into some of your neighbors. That's the same idea here. It's an always on place. And you could see that right now I'm the only one here, but I can click join video. So I'm on video. Now, when I join video, I can show you, there's an integration with Slack where I'll call up Slack right now on my computer. Once someone joins the gardens in video, then it can do this. I'll turn sharing on. So here is Slack. And once someone joins the gardens, it says, Nelly is available to chat via Zoom in the gardens for the next few minutes. Join here. And so that's what she did right there. So she said, hey, would anybody want to join? And it sends out a notification right to Slack. And also in the events, so all of the events that are posted into QiqoChat show up in this channel. New online event added. So people can follow new events from Slack, or they can follow it from Google Calendar. And there's also a weekly newsletter that goes out every Monday morning on QiqoChat. When you look here at your circle, it says newsletter. Every Monday it says, here are the upcoming events for the next 3 weeks. If you're just hosting one open space, you don't need all these tools that we're talking about of a calendar, Slack integration, blog post resources, written conversations, recommendations, but they're there if you want them. There's a helpful page that is in our event saying all the tools that are available on QiqoChat. Looking for that link. There's also a user guide. I think that has the link for all the tools. Yeah, there it is. Here's the user guide, has some videos. Okay, so the question was about Slack integration. If you go to the Liberating Structures Community of Practice and you click Slack, then it just links to Slack right now, but we can also embed one. I don't think Slack is advanced since we did this initial integration, but you can put a place for people to give me an invitation to the Slack community. So that can be done here. But now Slack has moved on and you can get yourself invited through a link, so you can put that elsewhere. So this is not needed anymore. What other integrations would you like with Slack? I'd say one of the weaknesses with QiqoChat is that when you're in one of these events, you might want to have a different chat per breakout room. I think that I would only advise that if you have a tech-savvy audience. The chat that you have in Kiko is across all breakout rooms. So, and it's very simple. There's no one-to-one messaging. So if you have a group that's already in Slack, I'd say use Slack while your meeting is going on. And people can do one-to-one messaging there. Kiko will give you the notes on the right and the breakout rooms and Zoom or GoToMeeting. Let's see, what other kind of integrations would you like with Slack that are not mentioned?
You know, I think, at least for me, as we're thinking about the virtual conference piece of things, a lot of people are talking about, well, using Slack on the side. So I think probably what I'm looking for now is more good examples of how groups have made that work and how they've facilitated it. So I think it's probably more of a implementation of methods, not a technical integration. One thing I'm wondering is if you change, where do the etherpad notes go? Like if you updated the room, is there any way that you would delete those etherpad notes by accident or not be able to access them again?
They are the default for your room. So let's say you overwrote this. If you go to room 1, I think we put a Google Doc in here. Is that right? Maybe I edited another event when we were doing that. So if you put a Google Doc here for room 1, then it's going to temporarily hide the etherpad, but it's not going to delete it. Your notes, your etherpad notes, you can go down here, open in a new window. So there's the link to this etherpad, and it's permanent.
Mhm.
Also, you can click here, admin controls, and view all breakout notes. And then you can see all your notes from all your rooms at the same time.
I think one of Aaron's questions might have been, though, like we're thinking of having a breakout room for each breakout session each day, but then repurposing those rooms the next day.
Okay.
So
That's what they did here in this event. They use the same spaces. So
Yep.
they just refresh the notes pages, say down here in breakout space A, every 24 hours. So this was day 3's notes. And in day 3's notes, you have a few. You've got session 17, session 18, 19, 20, etc. So,
okay. But with the etherpad, it would have like the notes from what was there the day before. Sorry, I'm
so it
But-
would. You have some options. You can cut and paste it out of there, or you could put in a different etherpad link. But I would say if something complex for a multi-day event, I'd recommend using Google Docs and then putting in a different doc for each day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Favorite ways the platform has been used. So here's a really fun event that just happened this weekend. I'll share this link. It's in German, and it's with a government agency that works on sustainable development, and there were 451 students and a llama that were involved here, and each of their 68 breakout rooms is working on creating a video to work on a sustainable development challenge. And I'll share this link. That's QiqoChat right there. You could see all the different people. Stop it at there. So you could see all the different people on video in room 12, room 13, etc. So put that in the notes here. They even had a disco. So they had a live streaming disco here, and then people clicked join video, and Zoom pops up here. So you're in a room with all these other folks that are listening to and maybe this gets to the question about how to use it for music that one of the people on our call had asked about. You can have live streaming video plus people talking in Zoom. You can also use the gardens that we were showing here. So in the gardens, you've got all these different gardens you can customize, and you click on a garden, the page refreshes with a different background, and now you've got a new join video link. Again, gardens are like always on space, and you just have them open for your community, although you can have an event in the garden if you want, just like people get married in a public park. It's an always on place, and you can schedule something there. The neat thing about this touches on the question of, can participants edit the topic? In the gardens, you can edit the topic. So you choose a garden, and then you say, I'm talking about soccer. And then people can see that in this garden, I'm talking about soccer. And if they want to talk about soccer, if they want to talk to me, they can come there. And people just move freely between all the different gardens. And there was a group in Italy that was using this every Saturday. They had up to 100 people. They were all dialogue facilitators, and they held an open space in the garden. They had 3 people that were facilitating, and everybody would say their topic, and then one of the facilitators would go into each garden and say, okay, you're scheduled for the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, and your topic is written in here. And then they break out for a few hours, and then they return to the main garden. Here I can show an example of that. So here they were meeting in the garden. That was a fun group. So You can use it for impromptu, like you can use Kiko for happy hours in the garden. That's another use. If I was a musician, I would host, say, each one of me and my musician friends would be in a different room in the garden for an hour or a half hour, and people could just come in and listen, and maybe there'd be a link to donate at the top for people that like what they hear, and they just walk between the garden spaces. There's another fun group here. These are folks in theater, so they've got some creative imagery, but you can see the sky's the limit in terms of your imagination. Did that answer the question about some fun types of events you can use?
Yeah, I think that gives us a lot of good ideas for how people have used this.
Great. And if you have an idea for an event that you don't know how to host on there, that's the best part of this job, is helping you configure the platform to create new types of events. As of last week, I would never have imagined a remote disco, and it was quite good. The DJ they had there was fantastic, and people brought out their strobe lights, and it was a lot of fun. So can we control how the video shows up? Can we force a gallery or speaker view? We have all the controls you have in Zoom. You can use your own Zoom meeting here when you click this green button. We haven't worked out the pricing on what that should be, but we do let, for people that need to use their own Zoom meeting and customize it for security reasons or particular configurations, just let us know. And instead of using our Zoom links, you can use your own Zoom links there. We do plan on making that available. So Kiko would be essentially an add-on to Zoom. We don't know what the right monthly price would be for that. We're still thinking about it, but that's going to be generally available soon. So anything you can do in Zoom about forcing how the video shows up, you can do in Kiko. We have another way that we're experimenting with video here. It's called Jitsi. And notice with Zoom, you have to put Zoom in front of the browser. So you can't see Zoom and the browser at the same time unless you put them side by side. There's Jitsi, which is in-browser video.
Is that how the disco was live streamed?
It was live streamed using YouTube Live.
Okay.
So here's Jitsi. It's in the browser. You still have notes on the bottom. And we just put this together pretty quickly as a test, but it'll be like the Brady Bunch. Everybody has their squares, if multiple people. But the neat thing about Jitsi is that you can just get in with one click. With Zoom, there's 4 clicks. You click to a new breakout, then you click join video, and then Zoom gives you 2 pop-ups. Here, it's just 1 click and you're in a new. So this is great for quick networking, speed dating. We are going to be doing some neat things with someone came up with an idea where you kind of get on the carnival ride and you sit on for as many rotations as you want. You're paired with someone new for every 3 minutes, and then you're off to the next one. So that's coming, because we can open this room for you. We can move you in and out of these rooms. Whereas when you're moving yourself here, you're moving yourself. But with Jitsi, we could do some other neat things. So that's coming. The requirement of Jitsi is you have to use Chrome browser. That's the limitation. And if you've got a group that doesn't mind using Chrome, then it'll work great. Whereby.com is another video provider that we're also going to integrate with, which has a similar experience to Jitsi, but doesn't have the limitation to Chrome. And so that touches on how do we control how the video shows up. When we do complete the Jitsi integration, you'll say whether you want the whole thing to be video across the top, or do you want notes to be side by side with the video. So that's coming. If you want to be getting the Jitsi preview, please do send me an email to say I'd like to be included in the Jitsi test group. My contact info is down on line 33. All right, well, we got through all the questions. Let's open up to any more questions that people have.
Is there a way to limit like I'm having a hard time conceiving of bringing people into a circle and wanting lots of integration, but also not being able to predict how much video people are going to use. Like, is there a way to limit it so that what I charge them, it's not possible to go over it? Does that make
There
sense?
currently isn't. Fortunately, the video is not too expensive. I mean, it's less than parking your car. So it's 60 cents an hour. So if I'd say monitor it for a day or two, and if you're wildly successful, then I think you might actually be able to charge people and make money from it. So we don't have you can turn off the gardens, for example, whenever you want. But
Okay.
we don't have a way to turn off the gardens when it gets over a certain amount of usage. So I'd say take a look at your billing and see every 24 hours we update your stats. That's how we get the data from Zoom every 24 hours. So it says how much was used in each single day, and it tells you how much each breakout. But I think it's actually it's hard to get people to come to your online events. And so I don't think that you'll have that problem. But if you do, and let's say you go over by $25, which would be a lot of minutes, then just let us know. If your organization doesn't have the budget for that, we can work with you. So I don't want you to feel burdened by we want you to focus on creating a great event. And then if you can create a great event, people are going to want to donate. They're going to want to pay it forward. They're going to want to pay for people that can't pay. And that event that we showed in Italy, it was free, but they ended up getting €1,000. So from just donations.
Cool. The events that one of the events that I'll be running is a big community sing event.
Oh, cool.
And we're getting more and more information that singing isn't going to be available in person for a little while because it's so much, you expel so much air. So those kinds of things are growing as people are like, holy crap. All right. So thanks.
One thing I know about sound and Zoom, and the Italians did have a sing-along for one of their National Liberation Day, I think it was. And when you record Zoom, it's only going to be loud for one person that's the active speaker. So, and also if you try to play music or sing at the same time, if you're not singing very slowly, people will be off by a second or two or three, and
right.
So there's all that lag. So I think solo performances is all I haven't thought of a way to do anything other than solo performances in the garden.
What I do is walk people through the ability to create a track themselves, and then they send me the track so that when we're actually doing that, we're singing the same songs over and over again, like a choir. So then when we're hearing it, I am playing the track of us, and we are dancing or performing or doing things that are what I call visual harmonies, because that's what Zoom offers us. So there are funky ways. Thank you.
So that is awesome. So the sound that people are hearing, is that recorded?
It is recorded, and because I'm singing along, I'm playing it on my iPad next to my mic so that I'm in time with the sound. I could share the sound through my computer, but then there's a lag between my mic and my computer sound. And the quality of this is slightly less, but the point is everybody's singing along, so they're just hearing this as ambiance that they're singing with.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yay, thanks.
Welcome to hear concerns, questions that you have. Again, we need to make it clear about how pricing works, but you got the long explanation today. And if what you see here is because people have asked us for these features. So ask us for more features and we build more features.
So Lucas, along those lines, and we're thinking, so ESIP also supports a lot of virtual activities in between our meetings, and we're thinking about using this for these smaller collaboration areas that we support on a month-to-month basis. One thing that I think would just be helpful, that probably is easier, is if those events could be recurring so that we would only have to put them in once. I think what I really like about events is this side-by-side of the how to join and the notes and all of the kind of material that go with it. I have you guys ever thought about the recurring events?
We have. If you're creating all the events at the same time, it's easy to do that. You just change the date and click the green button again, change the date, click the green button again. But in terms of automatic recurring events, no, we haven't done that. There's a lot of other value we're adding to the platform at the moment that you will want, but we want to do that. It's just right now,
Priority, yeah.
The priority in terms of resources, we're moving on other things at the moment. Like people want video in the browser because their organization can't download Zoom, for example. So those kinds of things.
And then, so I guess along those lines, I mean, is it possible to support you all beyond the a penny a minute a person, like if we, to help us
Absolutely.
flesh out our event or our
$100
space?
an hour, and we're there for tech support. We're there to help you design your space, configure it, so you don't have to do it all. We want to make a platform where you can do it all if you want, and that's our goal. But unless someone comes to the training here, they're not going to know how to, all the different options. So absolutely, and we love working with you, and that helps us too, because we learn different use cases and nuances that we wouldn't otherwise learn if we weren't in that sort of direct conversation with our clients.
Great. Okay. I'll follow up with an email with you.
Great. Excellent. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I'll turn off the recording here. Let me know if you've got any additional questions. I'll stay on for a while. So for anyone that's just watching, we do these recordings, learn.QiqoChat.com/events. You can come for any week. We have open office hours. We have these free trainings. Look forward to seeing you online. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lucas.